Oh, Joe, they don't love you like I love you. The doctor is making more house calls. Former First Lady Jill Biden brought her prescription for denial to The View earlier today, where the ladies performed an autopsy on Joe, Kamala, and the whole 2024 campaign. Watch.
Is there any part of you that went into protection mode of like, Joe, you can't keep doing this? Like, they're taking so much from you.
But the doctors told me he was fine. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I am a doctor.
Yes, you are, Dr. Biden. On Vice President Harris, do you think that she could have won if she had had more time in the race?
I thought she was going to win. I mean, I went out there and I campaigned for her all over the country.
But do you think the abbreviated timeline may have made it too big of a task?
No, she was up to the job. Otherwise, why would Joe give her, say, here, Kamala? I mean, she was up to it. Otherwise, why would she run for president if she didn't feel she was up to it? I went to bed assuming she would win. I ran into the bedroom and I woke Joe up and I'm like, Joe, why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you wake me up? And he said, yes, she lost. And I was shocked.
Do you think she should run again in 2028?
That's up to Kamala.
That's up to Kamala. All right, Kellyanne, tell me about Jill Biden and her relationship with Kamala Harris, because it really feels like she would be selling a few more books if she were actually honest about the state of their relationship, because Kamala was not as kind in her memoir. What gives there?
Let's roll the tape. When they debated in that big primary in July or so of 2019, shortly before Kamala dropped out of the race with zero electoral votes, the Democrats didn't want her. Why should the rest of us be saddled with her? When she accused Joe Biden of being a racist by saying the little girl on that bus was me, Jill Biden said, F her about Kamala Harris, and we all know that. So we know how she feels about Kamala. I think she was throwing shade at Kamala today by keep mentioning her. I thought she was going to win. She did not think she was going to win. And then she was going to be able to say, but Joe would have won. So her saying, and by the way, if she actually thought Kamala Harris was going to win that race, she has fewer political instincts than she does dignity and class at this point, which is saying something. Because Donald Trump won the popular vote at all 7 swing states, more Hispanics, more women, more African Americans, more Jewish voters, more Catholic voters, more union households, more young people, you name it. He cleaned the clock of Kamala. And I believe that Jill Biden and Kamala Harris, we saw that afterwards. You saw it at Carter's funeral. There is absolutely no love lost between these women. I want to say a couple of things about Jill Biden. She is fast overtaking Hunter as the most odious, grifting, drifting, repulsive Biden, and that's saying a great deal. She is a gold digger with this book tour. She's a gold digger married to the Tin Man. And I think nobody should forgive her for lying to the country again and again. Not just the night of the debate, because she seemed pretty rattled by her husband's condition, but lying again and again and again. She acts like her husband's already dead. I thought The View looked like his care team or the cantor and the funeral director and the pastor, and not a bunch of women who, of course, wanted him to win and did everything they could to help Kamala to win. Karine Jean-Pierre tried this stuff with her memoir, too. She tried to clear her conscience and pretend she hadn't lied every single day to the American people. And Joe is one thing, but I think this woman, we should not forgive her for lying to the country.
Yeah, and Jesse, if you think that your husband is in the middle of a stroke, wouldn't you intervene and make sure that he got medical care as quickly as possible in order to...
Depends on my relationship with my husband.
Would you really wheel him out to a Waffle House and poke him and get him to say something?
I don't know. They first said that he was given no medical care. Yeah. Binder went out at the briefing and said he did not see a doctor after the debate. And then Joe told donors that he did see a doctor. And then when it got out, he said, oh, no, that was for my cold a few weeks later. And now they're saying a doctor evaluated him that night backstage. So they still can't get their stories straight. This is rough. This is not a one-day thing. This is a week-long book tour. It starts Sunday, and then you have the Today Show and Morning Joe, and then this. God knows what she's doing for the rest of the week, but this is a week of pain because they're not asking about chips. or Ukraine. They're asking about Hunter, the coup, Kamala, and the cover-up. And every question is zeroing in on dishonesty. And that's why the Democratic Party has a 20% approval rating. The Bidens need the money. I think Joe got about 10 million for the book. This I'm going to peg at about 4, but after taxes, it's about half. And Hunter Biden is 20 mil in the hole. And this is a family with champagne tastes and beer pockets. They have cars, summer homes, private schools. If I gave money to the library, I'd think that they'd steal it because you can't trust these people. This is a bad time to be a Democrat. But then again, when is it a good time?
Harold, when is it a good time? And what are your thoughts on her victory tour here?
So I'd remind everybody, most presidents and first ladies write books. And a lot of times after they leave office, a lot of times they talk about things that you would imagine would try to be helpful and constructive. I can't figure out yet how this is being helpful and constructive to Dems as we head into what looks to be an encouraging fall for Democrats, meaning a fall election period, a midterm period. We're being reminded of some of our not glamorous moments over the last year or so politically. If President Biden had did, Kennedy, what he said from the very outset, which was to be a transitional president, to be a transitional figure in American politics, to serve one term, I think he would have been regarded far better. He would have been a kingmaker in our party and really put our party in the country better yet, I think on a different trajectory. When he decided to run again, I'd love to hear the First Lady talk about some of those things, Dr. Biden talk about some of those things. I don't fault her at the end of the day with her husband. She thought he was having a stroke. She realized he wasn't. They were at the end of the debate. What was she supposed to do? Say, my husband's about to have a stroke. You shouldn't support him. I get where we're coming from on some of that. But no one's going to say that. We've had presidents who've had challenges in the past. What I don't like is just revising and rewriting history. He said he would not run again. He should not have run again. And when he chose to run and then did not allow us to have a mini primary to select a nominee, but he selected our nominee, and that nominee said that she couldn't think of anything different she would do other than what Joe Biden had done in an election where it was 4-1, a change election, as Kellyanne knows. That sealed it for us. And that's where I hold them accountable for, if I'm going to hold them accountable for anything. So I hope the tour goes fast and we can get back to talking about the future.
Well, if it's anything like Kamala, it'll be interminable. Like Joe Biden's trips to the tinkle room in the middle of the night.
The tinkle room.
Yeah, so, Dr. Drill, she's a doctor, Greg.
Yeah,
and
you know what
she didn't raise the flag when he was peeing 7 times a night.
She's like the doctor who tells everybody she's a doctor until somebody's choking in a restaurant. And then she goes, oh, I'm not that kind of doctor. I just got an advanced degree in art history. Please call me doctor, but I have no use whatsoever. I love how the audience laughed when she said, oh, it's the doctor. This is not a mea culpa. It's reconstructive surgery. She's trying to repair everything they've done. What does it say about the political world? And I don't know if it's the entire political world or it's just this, but it's always going to be about cashing in. At the end of the day, I just coined that phrase, no matter how seriously you took the last Democrat White House, whether it was the incompetence or the threats or the deception, they never took it as seriously as you did. And I think that's the real crime here, that for 4 years you had a man, Joe, telling the American people that we were facing a violent threat from white supremacy, an existential demonic figure in Trump. And then you turn that spigot off, and now you're peddling books and doing speeches. What happened to this impending doom we were promised? It just ends. It's like if the world was truly ending under Trump, would you bother writing a book, creating a library, buying a beach house? No, their entire political mission is different to them than the people that they lie to. It's a completely different thing than we think it is. It's all a game. Gain power and status, translated into money. So you have generational income. Suddenly you're like meeting with your adversaries on podcasts. Oh, I didn't really think you were racist. It's almost like that scene in every movie where the hero is leaving in slow motion and the house goes up in flames behind them. That's how they treat their time in office. I'm out, goodbye, don't care.
Yes. If only Hunter could sell a few more paintings.
Yes.
Save the family.
You can buy them.
fortunes.
That's what I should do for my studio.
That's a good
That
one.
is, we should do the whole
You could do
Gutfeld
15
studio.
grand.
I bet we could buy a dozen
You
of
can
them.
get him on a discount.
Call me, Hunter. You got my number.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
this
We had some good times.
you are a saleswoman.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.